Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to spend some time and talk to you about eyeshadow application. Now every day I see a lot of people going around with their makeup done, and no matter how much effort, time and good intentions they put into applying their makeup, the eye look just doesn't look good. Now, there are many possible reasons why your eye makeup doesn't quite look like the inspo pictures you took off from Pinterest or Instagram. So today I'm going to share with you 5 makeup pro tips to apply your eyeshadows to make it look perfect. But before we get started, a huge shout out for all of you subscribers for coming back to my channel, and all of you newcomers that are visiting this channel for the first time. Then hi, my name is Dana. I'm a professional makeup artist and I'm here to save you money, save you time, and teach you some makeup tips, tutorials, techniques. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. So how this is going to work is that I'm going to have one side of my face or one eye to be the don't side to make all the mistakes that people sometimes do when they apply their eyeshadows. And on the other side, I'm going to implement all the tricks and tips that I'm going to share with you in this video. And this would be the do side. Make sense? And I'm going to use this palette right here, the BH Cosmetics Trendy in Tokyo palette that is very colorful and bright and beautiful, but it's not so good, to be honest. It's not that pigmented, and I'm not reaching out for that quite often. But I chose this palette because I want to show you that even if you have a non-expensive, drugstore, simple, not high-quality palette, it doesn't mean you can't be a rock star and pull up a beautiful, popping eye look. So let's get started. Now, the first thing you want to do is to prime your eyelids, and you can use a lot of things here. You can use either a tinted eyeshadow base like this one by NYX, which is really affordable and I quite like using that, or you can use the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I have the color Eden and I'll be using that later so you can see. And you can also use just a concealer. I have here the MAC concealer, the Clinique concealer. You can use whatever concealer, whatever can get you that sticky base so the eyeshadows can adhere to easily and help you get the most pigmentation out of your eyeshadows. You could also use a clear eyeshadow base like this version of the Urban Decay Primer Potion, but for the purpose of making your eyeshadows more pigmented and more popping, I would strongly recommend using something that has some color to it, something that can give you a clean base and counteract all discolorations, veins, whatever marks and signs you have on your eyelids. You want to cover that up to give the eyeshadows a place to be seen. If the eyeshadow you're using is not really highly pigmented to begin with, you want to give it a fair chance, not to have anything on your eyelids that can distract from those eyeshadows. So this side is going to be the don't side, so I'm not going to apply any eye primer or eyeshadow base. I'm just going to leave it bare as it is. And for this do side, I'm going to use this Primer Potion in Eden by Urban Decay. And this is tinted, as you can see, and it's a bit lighter than my shade. And this is another recommendation that I have for you, is to use something that is lighter than your own shade. And again, that's for the same purpose of giving the eyeshadows where to shine and where to let them express themselves, okay? So if you're using a concealer, some people set that concealer and some don't. And the reason for setting the concealer with the powder is to make the eyeshadow application go more smoothly and let the eyeshadows glide all over the lid instead of getting patchiness and maybe some powder stuck on the liquid formulation of the concealer. But you know what? This is what this video is about. If you are looking to get strong, high pigmentation, high intensity of your eyeshadows, don't set it, go directly with your eyeshadow. An alternative way is what I'm doing right now. I'm using an eyeshadow base that doesn't require any setting. It does set a bit sticky, but not too much, and I can apply my eyeshadows, get a nice pigmentation without getting it blotchy. It's kind of something in the middle between setting your eyelids and not setting them at all and get that stickiness, wet base for your eyeshadows, if that makes sense. So as you can see, this is tinted and it's lighter than my shade. It gives me the coverage that I want. It gives me the lightness that I want, but I don't have to set it. So it's kind of nice. It's like 3-in-1 kind of thing. So we've handled the top part of our eyelids, and now it's time to deal with this beautiful rainbow under eye area. And yeah, I've struggled a long time finding the right concealer, and I have to say just up front that it takes a while to find something that works for you. Just try, take samples, whatever you need to do, because that is what made me confident enough to use bright eyeshadows and very colorful eye looks, and I really recommend you taking the time and do this. Again, I'm not going to apply any concealer this side, but I am going to use some of my Clinique Beyond Perfecting Super Concealer in number 14 in this side. And what will this do is that not only it will help me correct this discoloration, but also it will help me create that canvas to help the eyeshadows stand out and be the center of the show. So I'm taking that with even the same brush that I used on my top lid, and I'm just masking that rainbow that I have here. Now in this case, I am going to set the entire under eye area, because if not, I know that I'll get crazy and it won't be nice. Third tip is about brushes. Which one to use and where. And I know it sounds really obvious, but trust me, it's not. And believe me when I say this, that you don't have to spend heavy money on brushes. There are so many beautiful and very good brushes out there that are drugstore. You have the e.l.f. brushes, you have Real Techniques brushes. There are a lot of brushes out there that don't cost much and they're just great. The tricky thing, however, is to know which eyeshadow brush to use where. And I'm not going to go too much in depth into where to use each brush, because that's not what this video is about. But if you want me to do this kind of video, please let me know and I'll be happy to. I am going to talk about the fundamental usage of brushes. You just need to make a good choice with your brush and what you want to do with it. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to define my crease and I want to use this Kyoto shade, this deep purple shade from this palette, and I don't want it to be a cut crease sort of thing. I want it to be more blown out and more smoky. So I'm not going to use this kind of brush, which is flat and dense. I am going to use something more of this type of brush or this type of brush that are more fluffy and can distribute color and pigmentation on larger areas and move it around more easily. So for the down side, I'm going to use that dense brush and I'm going to try, you know, just contour my eyelid basically. And so I'm trying to blend it, but it won't work so great with this brush because this is not a blending brush. However, if I'm going with a softer brush and I'm just trying to run it across my crease and diffuse the edges, that will work much better. Now you can already see how the eyeshadow looks different on both eyes. This looks more patchy, it doesn't diffuse nicely, and it was just not the right brush for it. While this side looks much more smoked out and nice gradient from the purple eyeshadow to my skin tone. And if I want to build it up again and get more pigmentation, no problem. I'll just take more of that eyeshadow and tap it or pat it where I want more pigmentation. Like that. That also affects pigmentation, because if now I want to blend this eye, even with the correct brush, it will be much more difficult. And I'm just going to do that motion for probably a few minutes until it's nicely blended and turned out to nothing. So I'm blending it to make it more soft, and you see it doesn't work because I applied so much product using that brush that it's just not gonna work. You see the difference, right? Using the right brush will give me control and enable me to get the effect that I'm looking for. Tip number 4, not 8, 4, is also about blending, but this time it's about how to blend. Now let's, for example, take, which shadow do I want to use now? Let's take Bamboo, this one, which I think is lovely. I love this color. And I want to apply it in the inner corners of both of my eyes. I'm going to take a flat brush because of the location that I'm using it. And I'm just going to pat it in the inner corner just like that. First of all, you see the pigmentation, right? It's not really there. It's a bit patty. There are certain areas that are less opaque and more transparent kind of. But if I use it in tapping motion on top of an eye primer or an eyeshadow base, using this tapping motion like I did on the other side will give me much better results. Okay, so you can clearly see a difference, right? I mean, the pigmentation is much more intense on this eyelid than on this one. And now let's see if I want to pair another eyeshadow with this. And let's say I want to take this Karaoke, this very bright, yellowy, a bit orangey kind of shade, mustardy shade, let's call it. And I use this shade because it's not too close in color to the green, but it's not too far away. It's not like taking light green and dark green and put them next to each other, right? It's dark green and a mustardy shade. So for that, I'm going to use another brush. You know what? We don't need to use another brush. Let's use the same brush that I used before. And for the don't side, I'm going to place it right next to the green eyeshadow that I used before, the bamboo one. And to blend both of them together, I'll just sweep them next to each other on that seam between those two shades. Okay, so this is how it turns out. The eyeshadows blend nicely together, but I lost a lot of pigmentation, don't you think? The mustardy shade is not as vibrant as it was, and the green kind of lost and gained patchiness here. Let's try something else for this side. Now, you've heard me talk before about the blending on a brush and not on the eyelid, and this is what I'm going to do right now. I have the brush that I've used before with still some of the product that we used. The bamboo one, I'm going to dip a little bit more in that bamboo and in the Karaoke one. So I'm blending the two eyeshadows on the brush itself, and then like this, I'm going to tap in the middle. And what this is going to do is, instead of me brushing on my eyelids and losing all pigmentation from my eyeshadows, I'm actually creating the blend as if it's a new, totally different eyeshadow. It's basically connecting the green and the yellow using a new shade. You know what I mean? And now I can go in and use just Karaoke and get the intensity I want. Now, just to finish the look, let's do some outer corner kind of thing. And by the way, this is a totally improv video. I have no idea what I'm doing, but let's choose another shade. Let's take this one, Emoji, right here. That is also very bright and maybe a little bit hard to handle. Again, on this side, I'm going to take Emoji and just pack it on the outer crease and blend it with that yellow like that, just sweeping it across and losing all pigmentation. And on the other side, I'm going to take Emoji and Karaoke, place it right here at the edges of Karaoke, and then taking only Emoji and packing it right at the corner. So now for the fifth and final tip for today, tightlining. I can't stress enough how important tightlining is. Oh, but before I continue with that, let me do some under eye business and I'll be right back. Okay, so I applied a little bit of, just any eyeshadow on my lower lash line, and I want to talk about tightlining. And this is so important, I can't even explain. You did such an amazing job applying all those tips, implementing every step that is crucial to get a beautiful eye look. Frame it. Give it the respect it deserves, So doesn't matter if it's white or blue or black or red or whatever color you want it to be, just frame the artwork that you've just been working on. Now, personally, I would always tightline the top waterline with a black kohl or a black eyeliner. Whatever it is, I am doing black because my lashes are black, and if they're not really black, they might be turning white soon. I will coat them with a black mascara in most cases. I just don't like the look that you have black lashes, especially if you're wearing falsies, and then you can see the skin peeking through because you didn't tightline. So please tightline. And then on the lower waterline, I'm just using Celestial kind of pencil just because I want to show you an alternative, something else to do. But you can do whatever you want. You can do black, will be also amazing with this. As long as you tightline and really help those eyeshadows stand out. So yeah, those are my 5 tips to rock a beautiful eyeshadow look and make the shadows pop even more. Even if you're using a not so great eyeshadow palette, you can do it. Okay, so this is a close-up of both eyes compared one next to each other. And I don't know if you can see that. I hope you do, but this eye, you see that green? You see that spot over there? First of all, you can see my veins, don't you? I mean, they're pretty obvious. And you can see the veins even through that eyeshadow. And you can see it's pretty patchy and it's not really performing that well. The yellow is kind of toned down and you can barely see any pink here. Anyway, that wasn't the greatest application. However, this side, the green is green, the yellow is yellow, you can even see some pink here. And well, I blended this green eyeshadow with some purple to kind of close that crease together. But you know what? I think it's very obvious that this makeup application was much better than this one. And if you pair that with the tight-lined top and bottom waterline, it's pretty obvious, right? Okay, that's it, you guys. Those were my 5 pro tips to perfect your eyeshadow application. I hope this was helpful and maybe you learned something new. You know what? I'd love to hear in the comments down below if you had any tips for me that I didn't mention here, or maybe you are using some of the tips and they don't work out for you, or maybe they do. I don't know. Let's start a discussion. That's the beauty of the beauty community. Huh? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too. If you liked this video and you found it helpful, please leave it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you again next Friday with another video, and until then, be safe and rock that eyeshadow, huh? Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Mwah! Bye, have a great weekend.